Hello, we're going to go through the completion of an economic workforce development application in this video. You'll see here first that I am signed into a beta environment. So if you're at the institution that I'm using as the example here, never fear, I'm not completing your application for you. And I'm also signed in as James Morante, who is the lead contact that's been assigned to the example application that I'm going to use. So once you log into Nova, you will land on your bookmarks, and to get to your EWD plan, you would click the Programs menu, locate EWD, and here you'll have two options. First I'll click Applications. So if we click on Applications, we're going to see this message that says no competitive EWD grants are currently open for applications. If you're looking for a funded grant, please check the EWD Plans tab. So that's the case because year one of EWD, or this year, is not competitive. So this will be more apportionment. So these are not technically applications for a competitive grant. They are funded plans. So if you click on the Plans menu, once we enter there, we'll see a series of helpful filters. There's a lot of plans in this list. So to more easily find what we're looking for, we can search for a particular ID, which makes it easy. Plan year, we only have one at this point, but that list would grow. If you just want to see statewide directors, you can do that as well. So several filters across the top that make it easy to find what you're looking for. In this example, I am going to just go with the top one here. This is Energy, Construction, and Utilities for a statewide director. I click the grant ID link, and that's going to take me into the plan workflow. So you see I have a series of workflow steps here. They all have validation attached to them. So most of these I've seeded data, and they show completed, but I've got one example here that is not, so you can see what it looks like under contacts. So under details, this is mostly informational. It provides me a lot of information just to confirm everything is correct. I will write a description of the plan. I would call that kind of an executive summary of what this plan is and intends to do. I will enter my start date and anticipated end date, and then I've passed validation, so I can go on to the next tab. If you haven't passed validation, nothing prevents you from going on and working on the plan, as you can see here. So here I am signed in as James. We have our system contacts. These are approvers. And we have a required project director, and a required budget certifier has not been added. So let's do that now. I'm going to select the contact type, budget certifier. I'm going to type in the person's name. Find them. Yep, there we go. If you're unable to find the person that you're looking for, they need to be a Nova user to be able to assign them. You can invite them here. First name, last name, email address. Send that invite. Nova will automatically create an account for them that you will be able to reference. So you don't need to wait for them to log in or assign themselves a password. I have the ability to make this temporary. That's probably wouldn't used in this scenario, but it is possible. And I will add that role. Great. So now that we can see, we've assigned both of the required contacts on this, and I can continue to add additional contacts to this if I'm going to be collaborating with more people. So we show completed. We'll move on to the goals and metrics. So here's where we're going to identify the vision for success goals, the student metrics, and the performance outcomes that we intend to have an impact on. So you'll see I have the vision for success goals. Now I select transfer goal. And when I click that, I've got two required fields that become available. Here's where I'm going to identify the student success metrics and the performance outcomes that tie to this particular vision for success goal. These are the quantitative aspects. So I'll click here, I'll see a list of all of the student success metrics. I can choose one or several of those. And then I can choose a performance outcome. So you'll see I have this code, SD-1. The SD represents statewide directors. So these performance outcomes are specific to the grant type. So if you were a regional director, you would see RD-1 and probably a slightly different set of performance outcomes here. The same goes for COEs and TAPs. So I see the SD-1 in a short description, number of statewide partnerships developed, and I click that. If I'm unsure, and I'm not exactly familiar with these metrics, there's guidance text at the top. So this is a collapsible field. When you land on this page, it will be condensed, but I can click the chevron to expand that, and I can come in here and I can see the full long description of this performance outcome. And it holds the same code. So if you see one of these codes with a brief description and you're not exactly sure, make sure to reference the guidance text above. Minimum of one is required. And I'm just going to uncheck this to make the application process go much quicker, but that's how you would complete that. And then we're into the work plan objectives. So again, I've seeded some information here. These work plan objectives are going to be referenced when we do the activities. So your activities will tie to the objective. So make sure that you name this something that makes sense to you. So when you see it pop up in your activities, which I'll call out when we get there, you know exactly which objective you're choosing. So then we'll choose the objective type. There's a list of values here for you to choose from. And then give that objective a description. There's some guidance text that explains what they're looking for as far as the description. And then supporting evidence. So I'm going to need to support this objective with some evidence. Here's another list of values that I'm able to choose from. So I choose LMI information. Please describe how this evidence shapes the plan. Provide specifics. So I've put my description in there. And then I need to upload some type of support. So if I click add, I can either add a file, so I could upload Excel or a PDF, those types of things, or I can supply a URL if this information is example. For the information I provided, I just put a URL in there. That could be a URL to a dashboard that shows labor market information, those types of things. So what is put in here should support that objective. If you can have multiple objectives, and then should I want to add a second objective, I just click this button and it'll take me to another form to complete. And I can continue to add objectives. I'm going to delete this one just for the sake of time on this demo. And then we get into work plan alignment. So here what we're doing is just demonstrating that this plan is aligned with the statewide objectives. So I'm going to give it an alignment name. I can call that whatever I like. Alignment type. Again, we have a drop down of different alignment types. And then cite the sector or regional priority. You're going to want to cite that there. And description of alignment with sector strategy. So you provide some level of description that will inform how this ties to the priority. And again, I've got a button down here. If I want to have multiple, I can continue to add. And again, I'm just going to have one for the sake of time on this demonstration. Okay, so we've set our objectives. We've proven that those objectives align to our priorities, and now we're going to get into our activities. So the activities are things that we're going to do, the boots on the ground. So activity 1, partner with industry through shared objectives. This is going to address the activity. I only had one, if you remember, and I called it student skills gap. So here's where we're tying the work plan items, the things that we're doing, back to our objectives. Describe that activity. And who is the person responsible? James was the only person on this plan. So if I'm going to be collaborating with multiple people and have them be responsible for these action items, then I need to make sure that they are assigned as a contact. Let's add a responsible person, and you'll see that James has already been selected, but I added Jeff prior as the budget person. So these are the responsible parties for this particular objective. Contribution of others required for a successful project outcome. So describe any dependencies and then put an expected end date. So there are a minimum of 3 activities required. So I have completed all 3, as you can see, and I can continue to add. If I want to do more than 3, I can do that. So I would just click that button. I would have a blank card to complete, And again, I'll just remove that one for the sake. And then we're going to establish our outcomes. So click on that tab. I would give it a name, so that's a free form. I can name this whatever I like. So now I'm going to tie this outcome to the activities. So here are the activities that I have put together. So I will identify that. Provide a description of the outcome. And then I'm also going to tie this outcome back to a student success metric or a performance outcome. So here are all the performance outcomes or student success metrics that I have identified in the Goals and Metrics tab. And then a brief description, describe how the student success metrics relate to the project outcome. And so I've got multiple there, and I can continue to add outcomes again. Great. So it's really nice the way that the activities tie back to the objectives and that the outcomes tie back to the goals and the metrics. So one of the final steps here is to do the budget. I will see how much I have. I have $300,000 here. I have completed this budget. So I would give this budget item a title. I would give it an expenditure type. So here are the object codes that you're able to choose from. And we're going to budget by activity. So we're going to identify the activity that this budget item relates to. We're going to describe what this expenditure is. And we're going to give it a dollar amount. So just for ease of putting this together, I just have one budget item, the full $300,000 I've put in there. This is what it would look like if you didn't use the full amount. It would say that there is $100,000 available. Oops. And we're gonna contribute $90,000 of our own dollars. That is not included in the grant amount money. So your budget amount is just decrements what has been provided. And then the last step, I can add multiple budget items again. And you can see here, I've got a budget item to complete. And I have this error stepper, which I wanted to show. So I'm going to spend a little time on this. These red bars indicate a required field. And if I see this error stepper, I can click show, and it's going to show me all the 5 errors that I have that are not allowing me to pass the validation here. Comes in really handy if you're just unsure. So let me delete this budget item again. So we're compliant. We've budgeted every single dollar. We're also going to provide a forecast of these expenditures. So I think this expenditure that I've put in was non-instructional salaries. And let's say, for example, we don't expect her to hire that person in Q1. We're thinking late Q2 is when that person would be hired. This is a cumulative forecast. So Q1, we're going to spend 0%. Q2, we're going to spend 10%, 50%, and by Q4, we would spend 100% of this budget. That just gives monitors a forecasted expenditure that they can aggregate. And then the final step looks good. We've passed validation throughout. I go to review and submit, and this is all of the tabs above condensed into one form. So it makes it easy for review. I can bookmark this, and it will show in my bookmarks for easy navigation. When I log in, I'm taken right to my bookmarks, and I can just click that to come into this plan rather than having to navigate to it. And I can also share this. If I click this share button, I can put in any recipients I want. Comment. So you may want to send this to colleagues and have them do a final check. You may want to send it to somebody to review budget items to make sure that they look accurate. That will send an email with an attached PDF as well as accessible HTML, which is a good time to point out that NOVA is all 508 compliant, just as an FYI. So let's say we've done all of our final checks, we've done all of our reviews. The final step would be to submit. So you'll see I'm in a draft status. If I click the submit button, just get this modal saying you're about to submit this plan. It's my last chance to back out. And if everything looks good, I am going to click submit. And we will see here our status is now submitted. We are unable to edit this, and an email has been sent off to our certifiers. That's it. This video would be available in the Vision Resource Center, and it will also be available through Nova Help. To access Nova Help, just click Help at the bottom of the left-hand menu.